today we got a question from Indy, and this question has been asked so many times that I figured I'd finally answer it. And his question is, quote, what is your opinion on doing jiu-jitsu while high on marijuana? I personally don't smoke, but I have a couple of teammates that do, and they say it enhances their game. And he says he's wondering what my opinion on this is and wondering if I have teammates that say the same thing, end quote. So, Indy, thanks for the question, brother. And so to get into your question here, first off, I don't smoke. You can count on one hand and still have fingers left to how many times I smoke. Just not something I do. I have no negative feelings against it or for it. I'm just, it is what it is. You know, try it, take it. I just didn't really care for it. And honestly, if I was to smoke weed and then go train, I wouldn't get much training done. I would start talking about historical facts and rambling on some philosophical thing, which already happens enough. So it would make that so much worse. My poor students, would be like in a bad spot. They'd be like, God, let us just train already. He's just talking. As I'm doing right now. You see how bad this is? But again, I have had friends that say that it really enhances their ability to open up and think. Some of them are really successful guys and really like knowledgeable dudes and very like awesome in what they're doing in life. And I say that because a lot of times people have this negative conditioning that if you smoke cannabis that somehow you're going to be at burnout, but it's simply not the case. But I know tons of people that say the same thing. It enhances their game, enhances their life. So, if you're an adult and you want to try it out and see what works for you. The only thing that I tell people is be mindful of your smell, because again, we're really close in jiu-jitsu. So if you get into the mat, you got that stink breath because you just got done smoking. Like for me, I think it's gross. And so for me, if I'm like locked up with someone, I'm like, oh, they're breathing and it smells bad. If they got really bad breath for whatever reason, I'm like trying to dodge it. Because they're breathing, and I probably won't roll with that person very often because I'm like, the smells, I'm kind of sensitive to smells anyway. I've got a strong scent. And then also with your clothes, if you're like out in the car and you're hotboxing the car, like stick your gear in the trunk or something, because again, if you go inside the gym, you're going to reek of it. You may not smell it, but everybody else will smell it around you. And people sometimes have negative conditioning, and it is what it is. Like, it may not be right, it may not be wrong, it just is what it is. Be mindful of that. But also just the smell. We're really close to each other, so you want to be respectful to your training partners. So that's all I really have to say on that. The one thing I wanted to throw in here today with you is to be mindful of your rituals that you implement with your training. What I mean by this is a lot of people get used to taking certain drugs before their training. So for instance, some people smoke cannabis before they go into jiu-jitsu because it enhances their game, they say. Some people cannot go for a weightlifting session unless they take a big hit of pre-workout straight to the face before they go lift weights. And if they don't have the pre-workout, they can't work out. They're like, oh, I just don't have the ability to work out because I need my pre-workout. And then some people I've seen where they physically, when they go home, they have to have a drink every night when they're done training because like, man, I can't unwind unless I have a beer or have a glass of whiskey or something. And I think that if you're in that boat where you feel like you need something after training or you need something before training, you need to be mindful. You need to be mindful that you're becoming dependent upon something. Now, again, we all use some psychoactive drugs, most of us, right? Coffee, caffeine, that's a psychoactive drug. Alcohol, cannabis, all this stuff. We use these different drugs in our lives, and you have to be mindful of them. For me, I purposely take time off coffee every year, so that that cup of coffee it's a lot more strong. For instance, I'll wean myself off of caffeine, get to the point where I just detox off of it, and I take a couple weeks off where I'm not drinking a bunch of coffee or teas or whatever. And then when I add it back in, man, it really gives you that rush of coffee. I don't have to drink 3 or 4 cups every day. I can drink 1, and I'm good in the morning. And then also with that, I want to feel like I'm in control. I don't want to feel dependent upon having to take this thing all the time. Also with alcohol, I don't drink a ton, but a lot of times what ends up happening is I get into this routine where every time Jess and I go for dinner, I feel like I need a drink. And we just went through this the other day. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a couple months off from alcohol. I just don't want to feel like I need to drink all the time. Again, because I don't want to feel like I'm dependent upon something to do, And so I share that with you guys because you see this with writers and musicians and artists, and you're a martial artist, right? So there's a lot of creativity with this stuff. And so a lot of times, some people, you'll see in these stories of these people, they feel like they derive creativity from the thing. But then you'll realize that if you read some of those stories where some of these people get off of the stuff that they were taking, they were still creative, right? This maybe enhanced them to some degree, but they're still a creative person. And so again, I just say that with you. If you're an adult, make whatever decisions you want to, live the life you want to live, but just be mindful that you're not becoming dependent upon some substance to give you the thing that you think you need, because that's in you, whether you think it is or not. It's already there. You're just having something maybe help draw it out, which you can do in other ways. So again, I'm not trying to dissuade you from doing something or persuade you to do something. You do whatever you want to as an adult. Just be mindful of the things that you implement in your life and the rituals that you begin to sort of throw into it, because, just just being mindful of the way you're doing things. Anyway, I'm just rambling today. See what I'm saying? If I was to like start smoking weed or something before training, this would be terrible. We would never get any training done. I would just talk for an hour. Anyway, guys, thanks for the video, or thanks for the question, Indy, and I'll talk to you guys next time.